Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are tracking the latest developments of Hurricane Melissa and the path of destruction it's left in its wake. It hit Jamaica as a Category 5 storm Tuesday, and today is pounding eastern Cuba. Melissa hit Cuba overnight with 195 km/h winds. The U.S. National Hurricane Center warned of life-threatening storm surge, flash flooding, and landslides, along with damaging winds. Roughly 750,000 people were forced from their homes in eastern Cuba as the country is dealing with a huge economic crisis. Meanwhile, the hurricane blasted southwestern Jamaica with maximum sustained winds in excess of 290 km/h. More than 500,000 people are without power. Homes, businesses, and roads were also damaged. CTV's Karis Mapp has been following a story about a Kitchener man stuck in Jamaica. Karis, you spoke with the man earlier today. What did he say?
Well, Leanne, Jelko Lonchar told me he and his wife had no idea that there was an incoming hurricane, or else they wouldn't have traveled to Jamaica last week. It was only once they arrived they noticed their other families trying to book flights to get off the island. Once he spoke to his travel agent, Lonchar said he realized they would not be able to leave and had to prepare for what was possibly to come. He told me that employees at the resort that they were staying at reassured him that they would be safe in their hotel. Lonchar and his wife arrived in Jamaica on Thursday, and hurricane preparations continued until Melissa made landfall Tuesday afternoon.
We sit together beside each other and just like far away from the windows, and you can hear a lot of noise and like the parts of the roof or any, like some, sometimes always flies around and hit the windows or on the back of the building. The tree was down. It was a lot of noise.
Coming up at 6, I'll hear more from Lonchar and the experience once the hurricane hit and his efforts to get back home to Kitchener. Leanne.
Okay, Karis, thanks so much for that. Alex joins me next, who has been tracking the latest developments of the storm track. Of course, Hurricane Melissa, we saw some of the devastation there in Jamaica and eastern Cuba as well. What's the latest with the storm right now?
Like we heard, so making landfall today in Cuba as a Category 2 storm. In terms of next steps, so at this point, tracking through to the Bahamas, approaching Bermuda. That is expected late tomorrow or tomorrow night, so that is possible, and still strong winds we are seeing there. In terms of the possible tropical impacts, when we look at Atlantic Canada in particular, so parts of Atlantic Canada potentially impacted indirectly from this. So there's also a separate low pressure system that we talked about yesterday developing. Melissa, though, is set to feed tropical moisture into that low pressure system. So that's potentially when we could see a little bit of more rain, especially for areas like Halifax, for example. So that low advancing through Ontario, Quebec, and again, expected to reach the Maritimes when we look ahead to Friday in particular. So anywhere between 30-50 millimeters of rain could be seen in that area there as well. So yes, a system that we are definitely continuing to keep a very close eye on. Yeah.
Okay, and we will take a look at the local forecast a little bit later on as well. Thanks, Alex. Okay, let's check some other news we are following. Friends of a Simco man are looking for answers tonight after police identified his remains last week. We'll go to CTV's Tony Grace live in studio for an update on this story and more we are following today. Tony.
And Leanne, police now confirm a body found in a wooded area near Highway 6 west of Caledonia earlier this month is that of Robert Sykes. He had been missing since October 4th and was last seen in Simco. Police have ruled his death a homicide, and investigators believe it's connected to another murder in the same area. At the restaurant where Sykes worked for years, former co-workers are hoping someone will come forward with more information to bring them closure.
I really miss him. Maybe I could have helped this guy. Maybe I could have done something to stop whatever happened. So it breaks my heart.
And CTV's Hannah Schmidt will have more for us coming up at 6. Also tonight, a popular cycling and hiking trail could soon have a much-needed bridge. The region of Waterloo plans to build a bridge over the Conestoga River along the Guelph to Goderich Trail. Currently, trail users have to use Highway 86 to get around it, which they say is unsafe.
I don't want to do the 86 highway. Traffic is pretty fast, pretty busy, and you never know what's going to happen.
You're not taking your children down that highway. I wouldn't be.
The region and supporters of the trail system say the bridge will be a big boost to tourism potential. CTV's Jeff Pickle will have that story at 6. Leanne?
Okay, Tony, thanks very much. And we'll take a quick break. We'll tell you what you need to know. Join Patricia Quinn for a 50th anniversary screening of the original Rocky Horror Picture Show at Center in the Square. You can get exclusive tickets to the VIP meet and greet, including a photo op and autograph. It's happening tonight at 8 p.m. Tickets are still available online.
And here's a live look outside. We're starting to see a little bit more cloud cover start to move in. We'll take a look at when we could see a chance for some wet weather, plus an early look at your trick-or-treating forecast, that and more in your full forecast a little bit later.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We go to a dramatic scene unfolding.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. ctvkitchener.ca, your home for news.
As the weather shifts, road construction projects are wrapping up ahead of the winter. In Cambridge, construction on Cooper Street will end before winter and resume in spring, while construction on Blackbridge Road will be ongoing. The City of Waterloo's reconstruction on Beaver Creek Road and Conservation Drive will continue through the winter. The region of Waterloo's Victoria Street improvements in Kitchener continues on the east side of Westmount Road and Fisher-Hallman Road. Closures are expected to last until the end of November there. And the City of Kitchener is completing its project on Frederick Street, which will wrap ahead of winter.
A lot of our standards and specifications focus on ideal temperatures. A lot of these, like asphalt and concrete, are within an ideal temperature time frame. So we are getting to that point where it is getting more challenging for the workforce to complete these within specification. And that's why we don't really want to start anything.
All municipalities keep up-to-date information on road construction projects online. The City of Waterloo has started its loose leaf collection program. Over a period of about 4 weeks, crews will be collecting leaves raked onto the street, servicing about 30,000 homes all across Waterloo. People are asked to rake leaves onto the street a day or two before their designated pickup, and it's only meant for boulevard trees.
We certainly have some citizens that like to rake their entire leaf collection onto the front of their yard for the city to collect. That's not the intention of the program. And in some cases, if there's, gross violations of taking advantage of that program, our city bylaw staff will come out and give notice to those residents.
The city says the cost to run the program each year is $350,000. Okay, stay with us. We have more news in your full forecast coming right up. But before you go, we'll tell you what you need to know. Calling all creative carvers, check out a special pumpkin carving night at Four Fathers Brewing in Cambridge. It's happening tomorrow from 6:30 until 8:30 p.m. Each ticket includes one pumpkin for you to transform into your Halloween masterpiece. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Okay, of course, it is a big week this week, Alex. Trick-or-treating on Friday evening. I bet a lot of kids and probably parents too are happy that it falls on Friday this year.
Happy that it falls on Friday, but I don't know about Jays fans.
Yeah. Ooh.
About that.
Got to get the kids out early.
Yes, a little bit early. And at this point, it looks like we might get a little bit of a break because we do have some wet weather headed our way, starting tomorrow in particular. So the big question, yes, will there be rain for Halloween?
Yeah, because it's hard to get out there in your costumes when it's raining. And it's just not as fun.
I remember being a kid, and I remember having to see snow, and my costume was under my snowsuit.
Hey,
and I didn't love that.
I was going to say, though, the thing is, as kids, I remember, We didn't really care about the weather. We just cared about the trick-or-treating.
Exactly. All right, well, taking a live look outside from North Waterloo, we are noticing some more beautiful, beautiful colors out there as well. That cloud cover, though, starting to roll in ever so slightly as we get into the back half of the day and getting into your overnight. Potentially some more cloud cover expected before we could start to see, again, some of that wet weather rolling in, coming up from the U.S., making its way towards the north. That, of course, from that low pressure system we are seeing there. So getting into the rest of the evening, just a bit of cloud cover expected for us here in Waterloo region and surrounding areas too at this point. Much of southern, southwestern Ontario, though, this is what you have to look forward to getting into tomorrow. So just before noon or so is when we could start to see it make its way towards the GTHA. If you're in London, Port Stanley, Chatham, Kent, Windsor, also expected to see that in the early afternoon hours. And yes, for us here too in Waterloo region, we could see rain quite heavy from time to time. On and off, though, in terms of seeing light rain versus when it's going to be heavy. Wyerton, Barrie, Orillia, so further north, getting into your Friday morning, potentially heavier there. So it's around here 4 or 5 o'clock on Friday, which potentially could be, yes, peak trick-or-treating times for especially the little ones out there. That's when we could get a break from this system. So we're going to be keeping our fingers crossed that this is still what we're expected to see come Friday. And then, yes, by the evening hours, again, we should get a little bit of a break. And again, fingers crossed that it's good trick-or-treating weather. Okay, in terms of rainfall totals from what we're seeing from that system that is expected to start tomorrow into Friday, for us here in Waterloo region, potentially we could see upwards of 31 millimeters of rain, potentially 24 millimeters in London and 12 if you are in Goderich. So that expected again from tomorrow right through to Friday, so over a couple of days or so. Temperature-wise, 10 degrees here for us in Waterloo region right now, 12 if you are in London, 13 in Goderich. So many of us sitting pretty close to seasonal for this time of year. Overnight, 4 degrees, that is what we're expected to drop down to. Mainly cloudy conditions, again, before we could start to see some of that wet weather roll in tomorrow. And then mix of cloud and rain is what we're expected to see in the morning, or daytime rather. 10 to 15 is what we're expected in terms of millimeters of rain, and then the evening portion, potentially another 10 to 15 millimeters of rain, which again adds up to closer to 30 by the time we wrap up things on Friday. Daytime high, though, we are expected to hit about 7 degrees tomorrow. So again, sitting pretty seasonal for this time of year. That sun setting 6:18 now p.m. officially. So over the next several days after we get through that rain tomorrow, 70% chance of showers. That is what we're seeing at this point for your trick-or-treating on Friday. Before we could maybe see a little bit of sunshine roll in for Saturday, but just a slight chance potentially for some more wet weather to start off your weekend. Okay, with harvest season now wrapping up for many local farms, we checked out what's next for Martin's apples. Have a look. Well, temperatures may be dropping down, but you can still enjoy some delicious Ontario apples and apple products. We are here with Kevin Martin at Martin's Family Fruit Farm, talking, of course, about Martin's apples. President and CEO, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for coming out and visiting.
Yeah, so beautiful day. We really lucked out. In terms of harvest season, so we're not seeing apples on the trees anymore. What's kind of the process and overall, how was, I guess, your harvest season this year compared to what we saw last year?
It ended up being a really good harvest season. It was perfect temperatures all through harvest. There was almost no rain days, so it was great for the picking. We just completed harvest, and it ended up being a good crop. There was good warm temperatures and a lot of warm temperatures all through the summer, and that ended up really helping with making the apples nice and sweet. There's some downsides to not having rain, and it varies from different varieties. Some varieties want more rain, some varieties are okay with it being drier. One of the things, a lot of our orchards, we have trickle irrigation, and so we were able to still irrigate to offset some of that lack of moisture. That being said, throughout the province, there may be some areas with the lack of rain, there might have been impacted some on fruit size. But yes, having some of those higher temperatures or more heat, it can bring up the sugar levels of the apples.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of next steps and how you prepare for, I guess, the cooler months, once the apples are harvested, what's kind of the process? What are the next steps that follow?
Yeah, so the harvest happens over September, October, and we're harvesting all the apples. But one of the great things about apples is it's a durable piece of fruit, and we have the ability to store those apples. And so we put those apples in storage, keep them at in what we call controlled atmosphere, and it really stops the ripening process. So they're refrigerated, the ripening process stops, and then we're pulling those apples out of storage to deliver to consumers all through the winter months, so people can experience local Ontario Canadian fruit virtually year-round.
And further to that, when we are highlighting local, how important is that for you as not only a local business owner, but someone who has been part of this property here, multi-generational farm as well? How important is it for you?
Absolutely. We rely on Ontario, and all of our fruit, virtually all of our fruit, is sold right here in southwestern Ontario. Right here, the Kitchener-Waterloo community itself has been very important to us. This is where we got our roots, delivering to local retailers in the region and kind of expanding all throughout Ontario. So yeah, so people supporting Ontario, supporting Canadian is absolutely critical for us to be sustainable.
What are some of the highlights in terms of products?
Yeah, so over the last decade, we've been introducing some different ways to experience apples, and one of those has been that people have had for some time is Martin's Crispy Apple Chips, which is a great way to still have a healthy snack. And more recently, we've introduced some applesauce products, so in pouches, Apple Snack, and also Martin's Apple Smash. And so just different ways for people to experience healthy products, and it's also a way that we can utilize all of our apples for different purposes.
And we were chatting a little bit before too, being able to utilize those apple products, that actually reduces waste.
Absolutely, apples are a great product. There's very little, almost no food waste in apples. So even if it isn't meet that criteria that makes for what close to perfect apples that we want to see in on the supermarket stores, it still has many purposes, whether that's in juice, sauce, or for chips.
And finally, just a little bit of history about this property here. It's been in your family for quite some time. Can you tell us a little bit about the background?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm second generation as far as apples, and my father would have been planted the first trees in the early 70s, and so really just continued to expand that operation. And now we have some orchards in other parts of Ontario. A lot of orchards are down in Lake Erie. And what's exciting now too is we have the third generation also working in the business. And so the family has been a key part of our business, but beyond that now is what's really exciting is we've had so many key members outside of our family that have really been huge contributors to really the success and anything that we're doing here at Martin's.
If you bought a lotto ticket somewhere in Grey County for Tuesday night's Lotto Max draw, you might be in luck. Run, don't walk to check your ticket. The $40 million Lotto Max jackpot winning ticket was sold in Grey County. We have more details on where tickets can be checked online. Just scan the QR code or go to ctvnewskitchener.ca. Here's the final 5 stories we're following. The World Series is definitely coming back to Toronto. The Blue Jays downing the Dodgers in Game 4 last night to secure that Game 6 being back in Toronto.
Hit well to deep left center. And this one will go.
Series tied at 2 games apiece now. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit a 2-run homer off Shohei Ohtani in the 3rd inning as the Jays went on to beat the Dodgers 6-2. It's Vladdy's 7th career postseason home run, a Blue Jays record. Game 4 followed an 18-inning marathon game the night before. Game 5 goes tonight in L.A. Trey Savage takes the mound for the Jays. The Dodgers counter with Blake Snell. Game 6 will be played in Toronto Friday, regardless of tonight's outcome. Businesses will be looking to cash in when that does happen. According to new data from Moneris, transactions near the Rogers Centre during the Game 1 were up 27%, while the average transaction amount was up 13%. During Game 2, restaurants near the Dome saw a 20% increase in the number of transactions and a 12% jump in the amount spent. Discount retailer Zellers is trying to make another comeback with a relaunch tomorrow in a mall in Edmonton. There will be a multi-phased rollout, and by spring 2026, Zellers will begin announcing new locations across the country. The company says it will carry affordable family products. It will feature clothing, home goods, and luggage while ditching other past Zeller categories like toys and pharmaceuticals. Thousands of pounds worth of beans grown for University of Guelph research projects may have gone to waste, but instead they are getting a second life. The discarded dry beans used in breeding trials have been donated to the Guelph Food Bank. The timing of the donation couldn't come at a better time, considering new data released this week that shows Canadian Food Bank visits have climbed significantly over the last several years. So the donation will go a long way for the food bank.
They offered us about 1,000 pounds of dried beans. And so, of course, our operations manager said, of course, sure, we'll take those. And then I went to pick them up yesterday with our volunteer driver, and we have 5,520 pounds of beans.
At 6, CTV Spencer Turcott stops by the University of Guelph to learn more about the important research being done. And finally for us, celebrating on a budget. MCC New Thrift Center in New Hamburg is working to make Halloween more affordable as the cost of living rises. From vampires to princesses, Halloween costumes can range from pretty easy to put together to incredibly elaborate and can often be accompanied by a big price tag. As a result, more people are turning to secondhand shops for their costume and decorating needs.
We've got masks, full costumes, we've got props, really neat props. We've got really funky glasses, hats, anything you can want for Halloween we've got for you. We work really hard to keep the pricing down, particularly on kids' items. We want kids and families to have a really great holiday season, whether that's Halloween or Christmas, and we want to make sure that everybody gets that opportunity to participate.
At 6, Ashley Bacon will speak with a retail expert about the rising cost for Halloween shopping across Canada. But hey, what a great alternative. You can also get a little bit more creative when you head to the thrift store. Maybe pick up a few different items and then put your costume together on your own. Can't wait to see all the kids dressed up on Friday. We'll leave it there. Tony Grace is back at the top of the hour with your next local news. For now, over to CTV National. Good night.